Hello everyone. So today we're going to be talking about how to identify subjects and verbs within a sentence, because once you know how to identify your subjects and your verbs and how subjects are different than this other thing that we call objects, then you'll have a better idea of how to pair subjects with verbs later on in your conversations. Now, in order for a sentence to be a complete sentence, it needs two basic components. The components are subject and verb. And so your most simple sentence can be something 2 words long, a sentence like, he sat. The subject in this sentence would, of course, be he, and the verb would be sat. Okay. Of course, most of our sentences are longer sentences, so we don't just simply have 2 words, subject, verb, but we also have objects. So who or what was being done, or what was being done to someone. So he sat on the bench, right? So you'll notice that the bench is the object of the sentence. Now, a rule about subject and verbs. Subjects will always be nouns, meaning that they will always be person, place, thing, or idea, but not all nouns will be subjects, right? So when we say nouns are person, place, thing, or idea, person, of course, is obvious, so is place, so is thing, but idea is not always so obvious. So ideas can be things like love, or knowledge, or education, right? So education is important is another complete sentence, where education is the noun and is our verb, right? So this sentence actually doesn't really have an object. But at any rate, now you can tell the subjects from the objects because the subject is the actor of the sentence. It is the object, the noun, that is performing the action of the verb, right? The objects are whom or what is acted upon. So to whom or for whom an action is done. So he, the object, is doing the sitting, and the bench is what he sat on, if that makes sense. So let's do another example. So let's say the bear likes to eat Cheerios. Right. The subject in this sentence is the item performing the action, and so the bear is what likes to eat, right? So the bear would be our subject, and our verb would be likes. And the object of our sentence would be, well, what does the bear like to eat? It likes to eat Cheerios. The Cheerios are what is eaten. Now, a lot of times we'll have questions about what exactly is the verb in the sentence. And in this case, the verb is likes. But you'll also notice that we have to eat right here. And in a lot of cases, a lot of times we want to say that to eat is part of the verb. However, to eat is what we call an infinitive form of the verb. In other words, it is not conjugated. It doesn't have a tense. And so technically it is not part of the verb form. Right? So anytime you see to before something that you think of as a verb, you're very likely looking at the infinitive form of the verb, and it will not be counted as part of the verb form. Now this is important because verbs are sometimes hard to identify. Sometimes verbs can be more than one word, right? So in this case, likes is one word. It is a single word verb. But verbs can be up to 4 words depending on, well, the tense of the verb. So I'll give you an example of this. Let me start smaller, so with a 2-word verb. So the bear, let's just say the bear is going to the zoo. Maybe it's in transit, who knows, but the bear is going to the zoo. So the zoo is a place, right? And it is the object of our sentence. And so the question is, what is the bear doing? What is the activity being performed? Well, the bear is going, right? So in this case, we have a verb form here. It's the present progressive. It's present because is the present form of the verb to be. So we've conjugated it into the singular because there's only one bear, present form. And the ing, the reason that it's progressive is that it's something that's going on currently. So this is the present progressive. It's an example of a tense that is 2 words, right? So a verb that's 2 words long. There are other verbs that, if you're going to identify them, are 3 words long. So the bear has been heading, let's say. Kind of a colloquial way of saying he was on his way to, right? So has been heading. It is a 3-word verb form, right? Meaning that he has been on his way for a while, but he hasn't quite made it yet. So sometimes we have modal verbs, and modal verbs can be 4 words long. So the bear would have been going to the zoo, but perhaps he got sick on the way. So let's say that that's our entire sentence. And you'll note that, well, going is definitely part of our verb form. Been is as well. Have is as well. And would is as well. So we actually have a 4-word verb right here. So if you're going to identify the verb in this sentence, the subject and verb, the bear would be the subject. And the verb is would have been going. So it's 4 words long. So we'll go over later how to identify different clauses, but you'll note that in this clause, we actually have another subject and verb. He got. Right. So, like I said, next thing on our agenda is to talk about clauses and how clauses and subjects, clauses and sentences relate.